Mark.
And we are
The Redmonds.
Welcome back to another Sunday. Again, we're happy that you're spending that Sunday with us, Mark. Good to see you.
I've been gone for about 2 weeks. I was really spearheading some interviews. We had some great interviews dealing with our chapter, the X-Files, and then particularly divorce. I think we got some good points of views, not just from millennials, but from
Gen Xers
too, some biblically sound scriptures of reference. And again, we want to thank Pastor Reverend Dr. Derek P. Garth from the Greater Mount Pleasant Missionary Baptist Church, our Chicago home church, and Pastor Joseph C. Manaway from Tabernacle Missionary Baptist Church, our pastor from our Seattle home church. And I think those 2 episodes were just very poignant, and I'm sure it was a blessing to someone out there, just as it was a blessing to us.
Yeah, it reminded us of a lot of things, and hopefully it settled in and resonated with you too. But today we promise to lighten it back up. We're going to still talk about the X-Files. Our first chapter in the book, Finally I Do Again, address to where you can order RedmondProjects.com down at the bottom of the screen. You can also order Revelations of a Real Man or Woman, our first book. Now, X-Files.
X's,
EX, and dating. We're going to call this episode Dating Hijinks. The road to becoming a couple started with dating and getting back into the dating game.
Absolutely. And we have a revelation that I have to just get off my chest. And I've been trying to duck and dodge.
You wrote a whole book about
I know. But me and Beverly, we met online.
Is that so tragic, people? People are meeting online more, but originally when we started 7, 8 years ago dating, it was a little bit dicey to be out there online and thinking that you were going to find the one.
Yeah. Now, I'm a traditionalist. I like to meet people the old-fashioned way.
Yes.
Person to person. But I had a coworker kind of pushed me out there on a dare, and I accepted. And the stories I got to tell you are unbelievable, people. Unbelievable.
Well, what pushed me out there was not necessarily a dare, maybe a dare to myself that I could get past a situation and get back into the dating world. Yeah, so I logged into Christian Mingle. We're not endorsed by Christian Mingle, but we are not afraid to be. Hi, Christian Mingle.
Call us.
Holla. We'll be willing to talk to you about our experience. But I will say that you kiss a few frogs along the way of your dating experience, whether in person or whether you are online. Take your time and do your due diligence and make sure you date. There are a lot of people out there. Mark, you had some interesting experiences.
Yeah, and first of all, when I was dating, I was never dating with the intention of getting married again. That was not even on my table. I was just going to date and just have a good time. I was not looking to get married again. And between the online dating and meeting people in just casual settings, I never forget, I went on a date, and lovely young lady, went to pick her up, and this is truth. She had a banner.
I'm sorry. I'm sure she was.
Oh, we're going to get to yours too. You got some stories too.
Absolutely.
Anyway, people, she had a banner with my name on it, and balloons and confetti, everything. She had a house full of people.
Now, I want to clarify, this was date 1.
This was our first date.
Uno.
First date.
Yeah, okay.
She had a house full of people. I'm talking mom, dad, sister, cousins, grandma, great aunts, everybody, neighbors, little kids, you name it, they were there. And, you know, on the outside, you should be flattered, but it scared me half to death. I was just not used to that kind of pressure. And you know, I consider myself a pretty fly guy, but this was just way too much.
Well, I'm not disagreeing with your flyness. Go
You
on.
really want to laugh, don't you?
I do.
Wait till we get to you. You got some stories too. Long story short, people, we went on a date. Date was okay, but I kept getting bombarded with and you may have heard this, people, she was looking for her Boaz and blah, blah, blah. And I'm, you know, and I'm sure you can give us a little bit on the story of Boaz.
You're talking about Ruth's ultimate husband.
Right,
Yes.
right.
And how he was her kinsman redeemer. He was the one. And so you hear a lot of sermons, a lot of people pronounce that they are looking for their Boaz, particularly women who are dating. But sometimes that is super intimidating. And it's a lot of pressure not only for the gentleman that you might be seeking to date, but it's also a lot of internal pressure. Sometimes you just need to date and take your time.
And I was just, that's all I heard on the Boaz and scriptures and this and that and blah, blah, blah. And yes, I love dating a God-fearing woman, but this was just too much. To make a long story short, at the end of the date, drop her off in front of her house.
Yes.
She says, I got something I want to show you. I'm like, hold on now. What you talking about? She goes in her purse. She pulls out some oil. Oil. And
Like blessed oil.
Blessed oil, like anoint type oil. Yes.
Yes. In our world, if you're listening and you're outside of perhaps the black church, it is oil that has been prayed over and set aside for the uses of prayer and connection with the Lord.
Right. So she asked me, can I put this, oil on me and on my forehead and bless me with the oil? And part of me was like, nah. First of all, you have to be very leery of who you're entrusting
To lay
hands on you. So that was my first area of trepidation. My second one was, hey, this is the first date. This is kind of
intense.
Yes. But me being the consummate gentleman that I am, I said, okay, cool, no problem. So she does the oil and everything, and we pray. Praying's that ain't bad either.
Also, yes, we don't want to mislead anyone. Prayer in relationships is absolutely very, very important.
So that ends the date. We talked a little bit more on the phone, but I just decided that was not
the
relationship for me. And that's it. That's the only wild story I got.
That's the only one you got.
I got some, but it's only a 30-minute show.
Yes, only a 30-minute show. Some of my dating experiences online were equally as dramatic. I had someone pledge their love for me after only 1 week of knowing each other online. That was a bit nerve-wracking. And then I had another person want to fly me out of the country. I wasn't leaving the city or the county with someone that I did not know. I also had someone ask for resources for me to mail them things like a camera. I think someone asked me for some cereal.
Some cereal?
Cereal. There were a lot of strange things. Someone sent me a teddy bear and some chocolates, Mama, Daddy, you remember that? That sat on my coffee table unopened like a monument for months. And so a lot of crazy, crazy things that happen.
Well, then don't laugh at me about the oil and somebody asking you to send cereal out of the country. What kind of cereal was it?
He may have been Captain Crunch. I think so.
Excuse me, family, excuse me. So those are just kind of, well, tell me more. Tell me more. I know you got more.
Oh, so I would like to say that there are so many more, but really, by the time I met Marq, I was getting ready to get off of Christian Mingle, turn in my membership, ask for refunds.
I had stopped. Even looking at profiles. I was done. I was like, you know what? I'm old school. I'm going to meet somebody at the grocery store, at the library, Starbucks, whatever. I was not going to go online again after the anointing of the oil and the family with the banner and balloons.
What was amazing with him was that he just was very simple and very easy with things. He said, your picture is pretty. That was it. And I thought, well, 6'3", green eyes. I think we might be able to work something out here. But that was not it. Marq and I talked for a couple of months online.
Yeah, a couple of months.
We talked for a couple of months, and my safety valve was not giving out my phone number. I was being very protective. I did not want to really, after all of that dating hijinks, I just didn't, I didn't want to end up on someone's poster. So I kept Marq on that online platform.
And not to interrupt you, but that's a valuable point. You have to be careful, especially not just regularly dating, but just online dating. You have to be careful. Let people know who you're going out with.
Yes.
Meet at a neutral location. So all those things, while we laugh about it, it is actually a point of seriousness. Keep yourself safe, people.
Keep yourself safe. You know, you can always date again, but we can't get another you. Make sure you are protecting yourself. I had a backup. My sister, Carla, was often one that I would call to let her know where I was going, who I was talking to, and also kept my parents involved at the time in terms of what I was doing. So all of those safeguards were put in place, but just learning how to open myself up and date and then safely let my guard down, keeping you on that platform, talking for a while, and then Marq dared me to give him my phone number. The first phone number that I gave you was to my car phone back in the day when OnStar.
That tells you how dated she is. A car phone, really?
Car phone.
Right.
This is OnStar.
Oh,
yes.
Really? OnStar?
OnStar. My Grand Prix, I love her. Still love her.
Grand Prix?
Grand Prix.
They don't even make them anymore.
She purred like a kitten down the highway. She was awesome. But yes, but Marq figured out that it didn't have voicemail. And so he said, when do you think you're really going to give me my phone number? Give you my phone number. And then I did, and then things started to progress from there.
Right. And this is just for you young ladies out there. If a man really wants to be with you, he's going to be with you. He's going to put every effort it is to try to get to know you. So you don't have to feel like you have to overextend yourself.
No.
I wanted to be with Beverly. Well, first I wanted to meet you.
Yes.
So I did all the groundwork. I did all the heavy lifting. I called. We talked on the phone in the mornings before we went to work. So I put in all the groundwork, and then we decided to finally meet.
But we were at a distance.
Right. You were in Indianapolis. I was in Chicago. So instead of me saying, well, why don't you come up and see me, which ladies don't do, please don't, have that man come to you. So I drove down to Indianapolis to see you, and we had a great first date, and it was very subdued and
It was
chill,
very chill.
right?
Yeah.
And
You want to tell them where we went?
well, we were supposed to go out to dinner, but we had such a good time talking. We missed our dinner reservation. We wound up missing the movie that we wanted to see, so we saw this boring movie called Interstellar with Matthew McConaughey.
Snoozer.
Right.
Snoozer.
And on top of that, since there was nowhere to eat, we had to go to Wendy's.
A drive-through for our first date. Yes.
The Asiago chicken sandwich was the bomb, though. But it was those simple things, and I think our relationship from the genesis of it was just based in communication. We had a bunch of like interests. You come from a family of what, 5? I come from a family of 4 siblings. So we had that in common. Both our parents were deeply rooted in church. We grew up in church. So, and funny, when we dated, we used to have hymn battles. Who knew the most verses to a hymn? I think I won most of the battles.
No, he didn't.
But those were kind of the things we had in common. And it just took off.
It did.
Now, wait, I do have one more story.
Yes.
There was one more date in between me getting with you. Went on a double date.
Oh, dear.
And one of my homeboys from Chicago, you know who you are, and we went out, came back to the house. I think we were playing cards or dominoes or something, and this young lady was loud. I mean, very loud. So I told my guy, hey man, she's too loud. You gotta tell her to tone it down. And the volume was just loud. And I was like, hey, this ain't working. I got neighbors, they gotta go to work. You just too loud. So I said that to say, you have to know what you're looking for. You can't fool yourself, and don't fool the person that you're possibly dating. If that person is not right for you, say so.
Then and be courteous about it. These fellow human beings, if you're letting someone go, let them go. Don't string people along. Be honest.
Right. I didn't tell the woman kick rocks or anything, but I was like, this ain't working. But just be honest with yourself. Be honest with the person that you're seeing. If it's not working out, let that person know.
Also, invest in conversation. I think the way you start is the standard you're going to keep throughout. One of the things that Mark and I do often today is still we talk several times out of the day, and that started when we began dating.
Right.
That was a pattern. Is there anything that you wish you would have done differently in the dating process?
Well, I tell you this all the time. I wish we would have extended the engagement.
The courtship?
Yeah, a little longer. We got engaged in August. We got married in November
2015.
I think one of the things that kind of sped things up, I wanted to try to get time to spend with my mother. My mother was ill, and unfortunately she's no longer with us, and she passed away about a month prior to us getting married. And I think that's one of the reasons why we had such a timetable. But we dated a year, and we both thought that was enough time. And we decided to get married. I wanted to wait, not get married in November. I wanted to wait till May, till I had some more ducks lined up. And Beverly was like, no, you need to put things in motion. She was not planning for anything. She wasn't filling out a wedding invitation.
A wedding registry.
None of that until she had this fat rock on her hand.
Which, this is not the original. This is the upgrade. No, I was not. And But I do want to clarify that during that time, Mark had developed some additional health challenges. And what I wanted him to know is that I just wasn't there to date him. I was there to be his wife if he wanted me to be. And it did not matter to me if we had a big wedding. And we ultimately had 200 people at our wedding. But
I still got receipts.
he does not. We pay cash for that wedding. Stop. Also, here's another tip. If you're getting married, it is not always about the cash that you spend, but if you're going to spend it, don't put yourself in a bunch of debt for it. Make sure you pay that off and that you're not living with that debt forever.
I think another point that really solidified my love for you and wanting to marry you, your parents played an integral part in our courtship. Not that they were in our business, but when I met you, I met your parents.
Mm-hmm.
And I met your parents on several occasions
Yes.
before we took that trip down the aisle. When I met, I call him Rev, my father-in-law, I think he called me Caldwell.
Yes, he kept calling him Caldwell. He knew his name was Marquell, but just as a father, he was not going to give away his child so easily. But Mark persevered. He stood in there. Mark is a man's man, and he will look you eye to eye and have a conversation with you. He will hold his own opinion. He's not going to be swayed. If he believes he's correct or has a valid point, he's going to stand in there and make it. And the one thing that he told my dad was, I'm not here just to date your daughter. This is going to progress toward marriage. So there was an end in sight. There was never a question about whether we were casually dating or not. And I think as you're trying to make your decisions, you do have to become serious about it and say what you're planning to do and not just string each other along.
And while you're talking, I'm going to pull out one excerpt from the X-Files, and hopefully it will be something that will be poignant, and it will kind of set the tone for the rest of this episode.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. To my credit, the ratio of eligible men to available women gave me countless opportunities to date, but it seemed like I was in the shallow end of the dating pool. I tried to double date, and they ended in failure. One woman was much too loud for my taste, that's the woman I was talking about, and another started making plans to move herself and her grown children into my house after 2 dates. I forgot to tell you about that one. Well, I told you, you probably don't remember.
It's written down, yeah.
I'm not overly picky or superficial, but I do have some standards. No smoking, no excessive drinking, no extreme profanity, employed, clean, and able to engage in an intelligent conversation. Right. Now, again, that goes back to what I was saying. You got standards, people. If that's what you want, that's what you go after. Don't lower your standards.
Absolutely. And whether you are online, wherever, or in person, make sure that those standards are articulated. It will help you narrow down that filter and keep you from wasting that kind of time.
Right. Now, we promised that this was going to be a light-hearted episode, and it is. And you know why? Because the joke of the day is back.
I relented. Joke of the day. What is it?
You ready for this, people? Are you ready?
I don't think so.
I'm gonna, here it comes.
Okay.
How come noses
Noses. Okay.
How come noses are not 12 inches?
I don't know.
Really?
You all, I
Okay.
get stuck with these all the time.
All right. You know why noses are not 12 inches?
Why?
Because if they were, they'd be a foot. Here it comes, people. Shazam! Boom! Thank you for sharing your Sunday evenings with us. Join us again next week for another episode of Meet the Reverends. Same time, same channel. And come visit us on our Facebook page called Meet the Reverends.
Absolutely.
Where we'll have a link to this week's show, so you can view it and get caught up.
Yep.
So we're gonna end on our catchphrase. Okay. I love the joke. I got some more for you people. More jokes.
Oh dear.
Okay. It's not her way.
It's not his way.
It's the Redmond way. Peace and blessings.
See you next week. Bye y'all.